Hare Krishna. We welcome all of you to our Bhagavad Gita class. The objective of this class is to enable reading of the shlok, to understand the meaning of the shlok, and to help understand the basic philosophy of Gita. We are on chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. This chapter is divided into 4 sections. We have covered 3 sections till now. The Krishna glorifies the knowledge he is going to reveal, Aishwarya Gyan, and different type of worshippers of Lord Krishna. And today we'll be concluding this chapter 9, which is the glories of Krishna Bhakti, and then the stories from Pad Puran. So I would like to summarize this whole chapter because this is a very, very important chapter. That's why I'm going from summarizing the entire chapter instead of just the last class. So the first part is section Krishna glorifies the knowledge he's going to reveal. Now, since this is a most confidential knowledge, Krishna qualifies who can actually understand this knowledge. And the qualification to understand this knowledge is, it is one who is non-envious to Krishna and is full of faith in Krishna. So these are the most important qualification for the person to understand this particular knowledge, right? Now, as we all know, if you are envious, then you will not be ready to absorb or hear that is being told by Krishna. So that is the first thing. And second thing, you should have full faith. Full faith means that, if Krishna says that, I am taking out an elephant from the needle, then just believe it, because that is a faith. As we have already talked about the story of Brahman and Cobbler, and how Cobbler could understand that, because for Cobbler, he had full faith in Krishna, and he knew that Krishna can take out the elephant from a needle hole, just like he can put big trees inside a small seed. But the Brahmin, who was expert in Vedic knowledge, he was so puffed up with the knowledge he had that he doubted the capability of Krishna, but believed in his own capability. All our senses are defective, and with this defective senses, we cannot understand Krishna, right? Unless we purify it. And then Krishna continues talking about, he actually then talks about he qualifies the knowledge that he's going to reveal. He describes this particular knowledge, and he says, he gives 8 points. He says the knowledge he's going to give is Raj Vidya. Why it is Raj Vidya? It is the king of knowledge, because this knowledge can help us get free from the cycle of birth and death. So it is Raj Vidya, Raj Guhyam. It is the most secret knowledge. And today we will be actually studying the last part of that Krishna has been telling. Then he says Raj Vidya, Raj Guhyam, Pavitram, Idam Uttamam. It is the best knowledge that can be given. And then it says Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam. It is dharm, it is the highest dharma. And when you can absorb this knowledge, you can see the change. Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. And when you achieve this knowledge, it will take you to the highest happiness. It will give you the highest happiness. Susukham Kartum Avyayam. And this sukh that you will get is not limited to this lifetime. It is avyaya, it is eternal, right? And then he starts talking about, from 4th shlok, he starts describing about the Aishwarya Gyan. Now, and that is, what is Aishwarya Gyan? He's explaining about what is Krishna's relationship with this world. And he says that he is actually the cause of all creation. All creation, all maintenance, all destruction are because of, he's the one who is responsible, and he does it. He's the cause of it. And he says, although I am the cause of it, but I am not touched by it. I am aloof. I am away from it. I create it through my energies. My multiple energies actually create it. And then he says that this material world, we all are conditioned soul. And why we are conditioned? Because we wanted to go away from Krishna, and for us, he created this material world. He created this material world, and he says that this material world is one of my energy. It is nothing but one of my energy, and it's working under my direction. And it's not only working under my direction, and I am the basically it is all basically char and achar, that is moving and non-moving, whatever living beings are there, all are created by him. And he says this material world is actually as we all know, it is managed by Durga Devi, and he says that she is one of my energy. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharachara hetu nane kaunteya jagat vipavartate. He says Maya adhyaksha prakriti, this material nature is under my supervision, and all are produced, all moving and non-moving are actually produced here. Then he takes to the next section. He says different type of worshippers of Lord Krishna, and he says he first talks about the the people who consider Krishna, when Krishna comes as an ordinary human, when he comes to this material world, what happens? It is the fools who consider him as an ordinary human. So that's what he defines that. He says avajananti ma mudha manushim tanumashritam. When I take manushi tanumashritam, when I take the form of human, then it is the people who are fools. He thinks that I am actually ordinary human. Why? Param bhavam ajananto mama bhutmahish, because they don't know my param bhav, my actual bhav. What is actual bhav? Mama bhuta maheshwaram, that I am the supreme Lord. Then he talks about another category of people whom he calls Mahatma, and he says who are, and then he defines who are Mahatmas, and he says Mahatmanastu mam Partha bhajantya ananya manaso. Those who are Mahatmas are those who worship him by ananya manaso, as one pointed attention. They actually with one pointed attention they worship Krishna. They are Mahatmas. And then he says what makes them Mahatma. Then he says satatam kirtayanto mam etantascha dhrmata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityukta upasate. He says satatam kirtayanto mam, they are always, what are they doing? Kirtayanto mam, they are glorifying me. They are singing my glories. They are singing my chanting my name. Satatam kirtayanto mam. And they are not just doing it, they are doing it dridvata, with full determination. And then they are doing namastasya mam bhakta, and with all bhakti, all reverence, all love, they actually do namaskar to me. And they are always nitya yukta upasa, they are always connected and worshipping me. And then he talks about Gyanis. He says there are another category of people, and they are Gyanis. So they are categorized as Gyanis. Now, who are these Gyanis? They are mainly trying to cultivate knowledge. They are actually trying to read a lot of Vedas and other scriptures, and trying to cultivate knowledge. And he says the Gyanis, in the Gyanis there are three types of people. He categorizes them in Gyanis. And the first one, he says they are Ekatvena. Ekatvena is the one who thinks themselves equivalent to God. So he says aham brahmasmi, that I am God, right? When they say that they are Ekatvena, they are the worshippers and they think that they are equivalent to God. So basically, as we talked about, that ocean, the quality of the one drop of ocean water is same as the ocean, but ocean drop is different than ocean. You cannot compare from one drop of ocean to you can't, there's no comparison. So that is Ekatvena. And then he talked about Prithakvena. Prithakvena are those people who actually worship different form of devatas, different form of the different gods they worship, without knowing that indirectly they are worshipping Krishna himself. And then he talks about Vishwato Mukham. He says there are people who actually worship the nature. They worship mountains, they worship rivers, they worship trees, and they are Vishwato Mukham. But they are all doing that indirectly. And then he talks about Devta worship. He says what is being done is actually a wrong way of worshipping Krishna, because they all are doing worshipping, but it is a avidhi purvakam is the word he used, that this is not as per the right process. Yeah, because why he's saying it's avidhi purvak? Because they will take multiple lifetimes to realize Krishna, right? Because what will happen? It is slowly, when they are doing this worshipping, slowly they are purifying themselves, and then because of once they achieve the right purity, they will go to heaven, but they'll come down. And heaven is also in the material world. And finally, they are not able to break the bondage of in the cycle of birth and death. So it is a repeated birth. So they continue to have the repeated birth when they are worshipping devatas, and that's why he called it to be avadhi purvakam. And then he says why it is avadhi purvakam, because all acts are actually meant for satisfying Krishna. And then last section, we started talking about glories of Krishna Bhakti. And then he talked about the simplicity of Bhakti. And he says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo me Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Uprahitam Ashnami Pretatmana. He says that what I need, because everything is his. He is the cause of all causes. Anything and everything belongs to him, right? Nothing is ours. Everything is his. Then what he says, what he needs? He just needs love. He just needs love. And love is the quality, that is bhakti. And by devotion, by bhakti, you can actually win Krishna. That is the only way to win Krishna. He says, give me by love. Patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. Toyam is water. Even a leaf, even a flower, even a phal or toyam. But give it to me with love. And he actually looks at that love by which we are offering. That is what is his qualification to win Krishna. Tadham bhakti uprahita ashnami vradam. So those with pure consciousness who offer that, basically, they are my bhakt. They are my bhakt, right? Then he says, okay, if you cannot do that, then what you do? He talks about the next method. If you cannot do that, then what you do? Yat karoshi ashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat krushva madarpanam. He says, whatever you do, yat karoshi, whatever you do, yat ashnasi, whatever you eat, yat juhoshi, whatever yagya you are performing, what dadasi, whatever you are giving as a dan, yat tapasvasi, whatever austerity you are performing, O Kaunteya, O Arjun, tat kurushva, do that, mad arpanam, offer it by giving to me. So if you are going to do any dan, what do you say? Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat is normally the word to say, okay, it's all for you. So why he is saying so? This becomes actually like, when you are doing like this, it becomes all your work gets offered to Krishna. So you don't get any reactions to it. When you are offering to Krishna, what is happening? All the positive and negative reaction of your work gets absorbed by Krishna. So what happens? Your bank balance of piety as well as negative is zero. You can only break the cycle of birth and death. You can only break the cycle of birth and death when your bank balance becomes zero of your piety or your negative or your pap karma. Yeah, if you do a good deed, then only you are bound, because if you are bound, because you will have to come back to this earth to enjoy those karmas that you have done. If you do sin, then again you'll have to come to this earth to suffer. So in any case, you'll have to come. The only way to come out of that is to do a karma. And what is a karma? Whatever you do, whatever you are doing, everything, offer it to him and then do it. Yeah, right? So that's what he says, that if you cannot do that, at least do this much. Why? So what is the result of doing it? He says in the next slok, result of offering everything to Krishna is freed from the bondage of birth and death. You get freed from the bondage of birth and death. And then he says that I am equal to all. Krishna is equal to all. Neither anyone is his friend or neither his enemy. He is equal to all. But whoever renders service unto him in devotion is a friend in me, and I am also a friend to him. That was the last slok we read, that I am equal to all. But whoever is actually giving me services, definitely whatever he says, whatever you're doing, I'm also equally, I'll respond to that, right? So this was the 29th slok that we read. So today we go to the next slok. That is slok number 30. Please repeat after me. Api cheta sudacharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhurev samantavya samyak vyavasita hisa api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhurev samantavya samyak vyavasito hisah. Mataji. Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisah. Now here Krishna says, api chet suduracharo. Achar means conduct. Achar means conduct. and durachar means bad conduct, and sudurachar means very bad conduct. Sudurachar means very bad conduct, right? Api, even if someone has done lot of bad achar conduct, bhajte mam ananya bhag, but still if he is doing devotion towards me, mam ananya bhag, with ananya bhag means with one pointed attention, is totally dedicated in worshipping me, sadhu reva sa mantavya, he has to be considered sadhu, he has to be considered a sage, he has to be considered a saintly person, samyak, completely, vyavasito hi sah, because he is properly, vyavasito hi sah means he is properly situated, because he is properly situated. Now this is a very important shlok, because it could happen that people misunderstand the shlok, because Krishna is saying that even if someone has done has gone beyond dharma, has done adharma, and has continues to do that, yeah, but then he or she is completely devoted to Krishna, still that person needs to be considered as a saint. He that person has to still be considered as saintly, because why? Samyak means completely, vyavasito hisa, because now that person is properly situated. So what Krishna is saying, that we have to see one thing. Now here he's talking about, not about the devotees who are already arrived. Now we all are in the spiritual journey. Now when we have taken this birth depends upon our previous birth. Whatever karmas we have done in our previous life it's carrying, it's actually happening, the results we are actually suffering or enjoying in this life. It can happen that because of some deeds that we have done, we would have incurred sins. It could be a dharmic, non-dharmic work we have done, and we will achieve sin. But because Krishna says, even so, but because now the person is fully situated and is totally focusing towards me, I will still forgive all the mistakes that is done, and then I will consider that person to be sadhu, because now it's fully devoted. So if you remember, we talked about Raja Vidya Rajgoyam Pavitram. So by this knowledge, you will become pavitra, because you are still continuing to go in that knowledge, right? Let us read the translation. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly, because he is properly situated in his determination. Now, vyavasito he is an important word. It does not mean that because now you are properly situated, you have got a certificate to again do adharmic work. No, it's more of repentance. You have realized it, and now you are moving forward, right? And we all have heard about Ajamil's story, right? Ajamil in Bhagavatam, we have talked about Ajamil, who was actually a Brahmin, who was, during his all brahmacharya time, he was a very, very good devoted Brahmin. But then during his young age, when he was going to the forest to collect some woods, he actually saw what do you call it, a Vaishya along with some person, and he got distracted, and that actually changed his entire life. And he did all the bad things, but the only good thing he did was he kept his children name as Narayan, and he used to call them Narayan, 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 and that is the why he was just getting the sin. But then he had a realization, and he left everything, and he was totally dedicated towards Krishna, and finally he also got liberated, right? So let's go to the next shlok, 31. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shanti nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi na me bhakta pranashyati. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati
शान्तिं निगच्छति
कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि
कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि
न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति.
न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति
माताजी.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा
शान्तिं निगच्छति
शश्वत् शान्तिं निगच्छति.
कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि
कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि
भक्तः प्रणश्यति
न मे bhaktah pranashyati. Now Krishna says, Chipram bhavati dharmatma. Why he or she has to be considered saintly? Because Shipram bhavati dharmatma. Shipram means very soon, very quickly. Shipram, very quickly. What will happen? The person will become dharmatma. Will become, because of the constant prayers, constant one pointed attention, the prayers that is being done, the person will actually become pure. So Chipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shanti nikachati. And what will happen? It will he will attain shashvat. Shashvat means everlasting. Shanti is peace. And what will it will not only become purified, will also get the everlasting peace. Kaunteya, O Arjun, pratijanihi. What? Go and declare. What do you declare? Na me bhakta pranishati. My bhakt will never get perished. Pranashyati means perish. My devotee will never will get perished. So Krishna says to Arjun, go and declare to the world that if someone is my devotee, I will ensure, I will take care of the devotee. You go and declare that my devotee will never perish. He or she may have done wrong, but because now he's my devotee, I will take care to ensure that is now it's under my care. And slowly what will happen? He or she will become a dharmatma and will get shashvat shanti. It will get eternal peace, right? So let's read the translation. He quickly become righteous.
He quickly becomes righteous
And attains lasting peace.
and attains lasting peace.
O son of Kunti,
O son of Kunti,
declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes.
that my devotee never perishes.
So now Krishna will never let his devotee, fall. So one of the story that we all probably would have heard is about, in the Kurukshetra war. What happened? The few days has already passed, and Pandavas were still not getting killed, and Bhishma Pitama was actually leading the on the Kaurav side. So Duryodhan got very very angry. He went to Bhishma Pitama and said, "You were always favoring Pandavas, and this is the proof. You are the strongest person in this entire army, but still you have not been able to kill Pandavas. That shows your favoritism towards Pandavas." Now Duryodhan was not able to understand that since Krishna is on the side of Pandavas, it is impossible to defeat Pandavas. So now Bhishma Pitama got very angry because he was trying his best. He was honestly fighting, right? So he says, "Fine, I take a vow that tomorrow I will kill Pandavas." Now, Bhishma Pitama is called Bhishma Pitama because he's famous for his Bhishma vow, right? He takes his like, when he takes a, or anyone he takes a vow, it is like, it is done. Everyone was very joyous in Duryodhan's side. They knew that tomorrow Pandavas they are going to get killed and we are going to win. Now what happened? At that point of time, Bhishma Pitama had actually got 5 arrows, and each of those arrows were actually for killing each other Pandavas. So he took those out from here and said, "I will kill them by these 5 arrows." Now Duryodhan, to ensure that Bhishma Pitama doesn't change his mind, he said, "Okay, give me these five arrows. I will keep it with me, and tomorrow I'll give it to you." Now Krishna, sitting in the heart as Paramatma in everyone, he knew what has happened. He told Arjun, do one thing, go to Duryodhan and ask him for those 5 arrows. You remember once Duryodhan had asked you that you can take a boon from him, and now it's a chance for you to go and ask for that boon. He says, okay. So Arjun went to Duryodhan. So now earlier time it was played by rules and regulation. So the war used to start from sunrise and used to end at sunset. And after sunset, they all used to be friends again. But again in the sunrise, so that is how the war was, which was fought with principles. Now it was already sunset, and now Arjun went to Duryodhan and said, Duryodhan, I need something from you. So Duryodhan said, oh, okay. Now you are asking me to, stop the war? He said, no, no, no. Remember, you were supposed to give me a boon? He says, yes, I remember. Ask me, what do you want? You have those 5 arrows that Bhishma has given you. Give me those 5 arrows. Now Duryodhan said, no, how come this person knows? But then Duryodhan also was a person of principles. He finally gave those 5 arrows to Arjun. Now what happened once he has taken the arrows, Bhishma came to know about it. He became very angry. He knew this, no one else can do it except for Krishna. This is only Krishna's work. So he got very angry. He said, Krishna, because of you, my promise is going to I will not be able to fulfill my vow. I take a vow that tomorrow I'll make your vow broken. Tomorrow I'll ensure that the vow that you have taken, I'll break that vow. So what is the vow Krishna had taken? Krishna had told before the war started, he said, I am not going to take any weapon. I am just going to be there. So Arjun said, okay, can you become my Sarthi? And he agreed. So Krishna had taken a vow that he will not take any weapon. And Bhishma took a vow that tomorrow, Krishna, I will make you take up the weapon. So next day came, war started, and now Bhishma was fighting so ferociously that no one had, everyone was just don't know what's going to happen, and everything was targeted towards Arjun and his chariot. And then Arjun's bow was there, arrow was there, everything, and finally Arjun's wheel got broken, and Arjun fell down from the chariot. Now when Arjun fell down from the chariot, he's looking at Bhishma, but then it's a war of principle. Bhishma will not throw arrow on someone who is without weapon, right? So he is now waiting for Arjun to come, get up and pick the weapon. And Krishna jumps from the chariot, picks the wheel that was there of Arjun's chariot, and ran towards Bhishma to kill him. And then what happened? What Bhishma did? He immediately left his bow and arrow and said, welcome Krishna. Because so Bhishma ensured that the vow of Krishna is broken, and Krishna protected Arjun. But at the same time, and Bhishma was a great devotee of Krishna. Krishna himself, rather in the first canto of Bhagavatam, it is Bhishma is a great devotee. There's a story, but then there's a lot of learning from this particular incident that happened, which probably will take it later. But yes, Krishna broke his promise. That was also a lesson to Bhishma, that when adharma is on the path, because Bhishma was on the Kaurav's side because of the vow he has taken, and because of the vow he had taken, he had to fight from the adharma side. And this was also a lesson to Bhishma from Krishna, that no, that's not right. You don't have to keep your vow on the adharma side. So anyway, there are a lot of things, but then this is how the Krishna is. Krishna, he will never let his devotee perish, right? So this is what is in the next slok. So we go to the next slok now, 32. Mam hi partha vipashritya yepi syuh papayonayah striyo veshyas shudras te api yanti param gatim. Mam hi partha vipashritya yepi syuh papayonayah striyo veshyas tatha shudras te api yanti param gatim. Mam hi partha vipashritya yepi syuh papayonayah striyo veshyas tatha shudras te api yanti param gatim. Now Krishna says that devotional service is not limited to any caste, creed, gender, or anyone. He says, Mam hi partha vipashritya. Anyone can take my shelter. Mam hi partha. O Parth, O Arjun, anyone can take my shelter. Ye api syuh anyone from any it is basically, you know, even animals, birds, anyone can take my shelter. Striyo Vaishyas Tadha Shudra. And you know, even whether it is irrespective of gender, anyone can actually, when they take my shelter, they will finally attain the supreme destination. So let us read this the translation. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they may be lower in birth, women, Vaishya, and Shudras can attain the supreme destination. Next slok. Kim punah brahmana punya bhakta rajarshyas tatha anitya asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasva mam. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarshyas tatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasva mam. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarshyas tatha anitya asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasva mam. Krishna says, then when so devotional service is not limited to any caste, creed, gender, anyone can actually come and pray to me, and they will achieve the supreme destination. Then what about Brahmins? What about Brahmins who by birth they are actually have more devotional thing in themselves, or punya, those who have done lot of punya, or bhakta, those who are devotees, or rajarshyas tatha, or those who are saintly kings? What to talk about them? They anyway, when they come to this world, which is anitya means temporary, asukham, where they, which is miserable, this lok, imam prapya bhajasva mam. Then what you have to do? You have to engage in loving service to me. So now Krishna is telling to Arjun that, you know, you are a Rajesh, you are a Rajasha, you are basically a saintly king. Then I mean, there's no point for you to waste your life in this, getting engaged in this temporary world, which is anitya, which is temporary, asukham, as Krishna has already defined in 8th chapter, that this chapter, what is this material world? This material he has defined as he has defined this as basically dukhale, dukhale or shashwatam. That is what he has defined this material world. That this is just like you have vidyalaya, a place where you go and study. This material world is dukhale. It's a house of miseries. It's a house of miseries. If you have taken birth here, you will have miseries unless you take his shelter, right? Dukhale or shashwatam. Or shashwatam means it is temporary. So he says to Arjun that once, since you are here, you, what you do, get engaged in loving service unto me. Yeah, that's what he says here. And we go to the last slok of this chapter. This slok is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. This is the last slok of Bhagavad Gita of chapter 9, and this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Let's read the slok. Manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvetvam atmanam matparayanah manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktevam atmanam matparayanah. Mataji. Manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvevam atmanam matparayanam. Yeah. So we are on the last slok of 9th chapter. And as I mentioned, that this is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So let us read the next slok that I have on my screen. which is on from Gita Mahatmya, spoken by Adi Shankaracharya. So there are few shloks which is Adi Shankaracharya talked about the Gita Mahatmya. What is the Gita? And one of the shlok in that is Sarvopnishado Gavo Dugdha Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdha Gita Mritam Mahat. Adi Shankaracharya says that Sarva Upanishad Gavo means all the Upanishads that we have, yeah, all the knowledge that we have in the Upanishad, if we compare that to cows, if we compare that to cow, then what is Gopal Nandan? Gopal Nandan is what? Krishna. What is he? He is Dugdha. He is milking that cow. And when he is milking the cow, Bhagavad Gita is getting created. So all the essence of Upanishad is actually in Bhagavad Gita. That is what Adi Shankaracharya says. So Sarva Upanishado Gavo, all the Upanishad, if together, if you compare it with a cow, then Dogda Gopal Nandan. Gopal Krishna is actually milking that cow. Yeah. And then Partho Vatsa. Partho is Arjun. What is he? Arjun is the calf. Arjun is the calf who is drinking this milk. And it is not Arjun alone who is drinking milk, but Sudhir Bhokta. Sudhir means along with Arjun, those who are Sudhir, with good mind, devotees, what will happen? They are also enjoying this nectar, Gita Amrita Mahat, Amrit Gita, this Gita which is Amrit, which is the nectar Gita, they are also enjoying this nectar. So it says, all the Upanishads are the cows and Krishna is the one who milks them. Arjun is the calf, and the devotees are the consumers of the great nectar of Gita. So that is what. So Bhagavad Gita is basically the essence of all Upanishads. So now we all know that Bhagavad Gita has got 18 chapters, right? And out of this 18 chapter, the middle 6 chapter, which is from 7th to 12th, is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Upanishad, and of all Upanishad, this 18 chapter, the middle 6 chapter, which is 7 to 12, is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. And in this, this is about bhakti. Of this 6 chapters which we have from 7 to 12, which is 9th, which is the middle of these two, this 6th chapter, which is the middle, which is 9th, is the essence of this 6th chapter. And in the 9th chapter, the last shlok, which is the 34th shlok, is the essence of the 9th chapter. So this shlok is the essence of the essence of the essence of the essence, right? So it is Krishna has hidden this shlok at the middle, the last one, right? He has hidden it very there, right? You have to reach there to understand all this thing, to reach this shlok, right? So this is what is this. Now, what does this shlok means? Manmana. Manmana means, so he says, okay, here he's talking about 4 things. Manmana is think about me always. Manmana is always think about me, right? Engage your mind, always thinking of me. Bhav mad bhakto. Yeah, 4 things. Be my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. And namaskru, or bow down to me. So he says you have to do these 4 things. Mamai vaishyasi yuktetvam. And when you are completely absorbed in me, then what will happen? You will surely come to me. So he's giving a secret how you can break the bondage of birth and death, right? Now, before I go into explanation of this verse, I will also take one more verse. Now, 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the summary of all the shlokas that we are talking about. In the 18th chapter, there is a 66th slok, which normally is very well known about Bhagavad Gita. And let's read this slok. It says, Sarva dharman parityaje mam ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma shrucha. Krishna says, Sarva dharma parityaje, all duty, all dharma parityaje, leave it, leave everything. Mam ekam sharanam raja, come to me only. Aham tvam, I will to you. Sarva papebhyo, from all the sins. Mokshishyami. Mokshishyami means liberate you from them. Masucha, do not fear. So why do we get into this bondage of birth and death? Because we have to actually we have to enjoy the pious activity, or we have to suffer from the sins that we have incurred. And Krishna says that leave everything, just come to me, you do not fear. Now this shlok is talking about surrendering. You have to surrender to Krishna. Now, how to surrender is defined in the 34th verse. So this shlok only says, come to me. But how to come to me and what to be done is actually the 34th shlok of the 9th chapter. Okay? And he says in this, you have to surrender to me in 4 ways. You have to surrender to me in 4 ways, right? So he says, manmana. Manmana is engage in your mind, always thinking of me, right? Now let's expand this word manmana. Who is the one who can always think of Krishna? Do you think it's possible? Always think of Krishna? What comes to your mind when you think about always thinking of Krishna? Does anyone come to your mind?
So many distractions.
To be at that level, it is the gopis of Vrindavan. It is the Vrajvasi and the gopis of Vrindavan who are that level. They are always thinking of Krishna. They are the highest devotee of Krishna. Unfortunately, because people who have not read scriptures and those who don't have knowledge, they think about the gopis and Krishna's relationship to be all wrong. But gopis are the highest devotees of Krishna. Who are gopis? Gopis are actually the great rishis, the great devotees of Krishna who had been worshipping Krishna from lives after lives, and they just wanted, they had worshipped Krishna in some relationship. Some would have worshipped Krishna as a son, some would have worshipped Krishna as a lover, as a husband, some would have worshipped Krishna as a friend. That's why the gopis they are the gopis, because Krishna promises, Krishna says, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavame yuge yuge. Krishna promises that paritranaya sadhunam, to relieve, to liberate the sadhus. So he keeps a promise. If you worship him, he will come to take care of you. And that they are the gopis of Vrindavan. They are the greatest devotee. They could not do anything even when Krishna left them. They could not part themselves from the thought of Krishna. They was always in the thought of Krishna, to the extent they actually cursed. If you read Bhagavatam, they cursed Brahmaji. What have you created? Why did you create this eyelid for us? We have to actually, this eyelid, even if we don't want it, blinks, so that we are not able to see Krishna. So they cursed Brahmaji, that why did you create this eyelid? And also when Krishna used to go to take his calves to the jungle, they used to just be waiting. They doesn't mean they were not doing anything. They were doing all their rituals. Whatever the activity has to be done, they were doing all, but by the remembrance of Krishna. And that is what is manmana. Manmana is thinking of me always. And that is the highest devotee. Yeah, satatam kirtantu mam, always glorifying, always thinking of it. When Krishna is away, they are thinking, they are actually making songs of his daily work, what Krishna would have done yesterday and would have been singing, right? So that is manmana. Yeah, engage your mind thinking of me, right? And then if you cannot do that, so 4 things he said, if you cannot be there, then what do you do? Bhav mad bhakto, then be my devotee. So let's read about that. So before I go to that, let's continue with manmana. So Rup Goswami, who is a great acharya, he has defined bhakti. And how has he had defined bhakti? Uttama bhakti. Uttama bhakti means highest bhakti. How he has defined, he says, Anya bhalashita shunyam. Anya bhalashita shunyam means there is no other abhilasha, no other wishes. Shunyam is zero. There is no other wishes. Jnana karmadhyam, and there's anukulya se Krishna. So you are just without any, what do you call it, without any other abhilasha, any other wishes. What are you doing? You are just favorably thinking of Krishna. That is what is Uttama Bhakti. And that is what the gopis of Vrindavan is an example. And then we talked about the second part, which is Bhav Mad Bhakto. If you can't do that, then be my devotee. Now, why does Krishna say be my devotee? We'll go to the next shlok, which is again the 18th chapter. There's a 55th shlok, which Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. He says, you can only know me by bhakti. You can only know me by bhakti, by devotion. And what is devotion? how to do that devotion. And that is defined in Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam 7th chapter, Prahlad Maharaj, he talks about bhakti. He says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. He says there are 9 processes of doing bhakti. What is that? First is Sharanam, hearing. Hearing about God. Because when you hear, how do you get attracted? Once you hear, you learn. And when you learn, you start knowing. Yeah. So Shravanam is the first thing. Shravanam is hearing. So hear about our scriptures. So when you hear, you come to know. And when you hear, you chant the glories of the God. Then Kirtanam. When you hear the Kirtanam is all. Chanting the holy name, doing the Kirtan, doing these are Kirtanam, right? Glorifying, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. These all are Kirtanam. Vishnu Smaranam, remembering Vishnu. Pad Sevanam. What do you call it? When we do the worship, what we do? We actually pray to the lotus feet of the God. Pada Sevanam is praying to the lotus feet of the God. Archanam Vandanam. Archanam is decorating the God, doing the arti to the God. Vandanam, singing prayers to the God. Dasyam, doing work for the God. Sakhyam is preaching the Krishna, being a friend of Krishna. How you can be by actually taking his message across to everyone to surrender to Krishna. And then Atmanevedam. Atmanevedam is surrendering to Krishna from body, mind, and words. From everything of yours should be fully surrendered to Krishna. This is what is bhaktya. That is what is the devotional service. And Krishna says, bhaktya mam abhijanati. How you can know me? You can only understand me by bhakti. Yavanschasmi tatvata tato mam tattvado gyatva vishte dadantaram. One can understand me as I am, as a supreme personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full conscious of me by devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So he says that if you cannot always think of me, then do my worship by following these process. And then he says, if you cannot do that also, then what you do? Madhyaji. That is the third thing he says. And what is Madhyaji is? Worship me. And how do you worship? What do we do? In the temple, we decorate the God. That is the worshipping. That's what we do, right? We decorate the God. We put the diya in front of the God. We sing whatever prayers we know. If you don't know anything, you just know the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Just sing Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for. So Madhyaji, worship me. If you can't even do that, even if you can't do that, namaskuru, bow down to me and earnestly pray that I don't know anything. It's like a child crying for a when a child is crying, the mother comes, right? Similarly, you don't know, just cry to him, he will come. And once you are in his protection, you don't have to worry. He will break, you will be able to break the cycle of birth and death, right? So let's read the English translation. Engage your mind.
Engage your mind.
Always in thinking of me.
Always in thinking of me.
Become my devotee.
Become my devotee.
Offer obeisances to me.
Offer obeisances to you.
And worship me. Being completely absorbed in me.
Being completely absorbed in me.
Surely you will come to me. Right? So this is the only shlok which is written twice in Bhagavad Gita with a small difference. So this shlok is also in the 18th chapter, the 65 shlok is also this. It says like this: Manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. He says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Right? So this is the only shlok where it's almost a repetition with the last few words change. He says, I promise you because you are my very dear friend to Arjun, right? Now, why is this shlok, although it's so simple, Krishna is just saying, think about me always, be my devotee, worship me, do this thing, namaskar. Why is he saying that? Because he says it is he who can actually can help us to break the cycle of birth and death. So he says, that's why he said, the first shlok that we read, the 30th shlok, we say, even if you are Sudhujacha, even if you have a very bad conduct, even if you would have been very bad, but at least now you are in the right direction. You have started praying to me. You have understood about the other Devi Devtas, and now you know your direction has changed and you are praying to me. And that is why I say it's okay, it doesn't matter. You're still a saintly because now you know you are in the right path. And that is why you will never perish. I take care of you and I will help you to break this bondage of birth and death. So this is the 34th shlok, which is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So with this, we complete the 9th chapter. And what we do now is we go to Padma Puran. From Padma Puran, we actually read the glories of chapter 9. So in Padma Puran, there's a mahatmya of each chapter which has been given. And now what I'll do is I will read what in Padma Puran the glories of 9th chapter is written, right? As we all know that all the stories in the Puran, it is basically Parvati ji is asking Shankar ji, Mahadev ji, and Mahadev ji is replying to Parvati ji. And when she says that, please tell me the glories of chapter 9, so he starts talking about this story. He says, once there was a city called Mahishmati on the bank of river Narmada. And there lived a very learned Brahmin called Madhav. And he was extremely expert in Vedic knowledge. Now, because he had a lot of knowledge, what he had done here, he was a Gyani. When you have a lot of Vedic knowledge, you actually classify in the now we all know about the 4 stages. We have karmi, we have gyani, we have yogi, and then we have bhaktas. So these are the 4 categories, right? So those who have got a lot of Vedic knowledge, they actually fall under the category of gyanis. Yeah. And then so basically he was a gyani. And then what happened, because of his knowledge, he had actually accumulated a lot of wealth. And his intention was that he will actually perform a great yajna. He'll perform a great yajna. And then what happened? And he wanted to sacrifice a he goat. He wanted to sacrifice a he goat in the yajna, right? So he got a big goat and he performed all the rituals actually to sacrifice, to do the sacrifice. And when all the rituals was done and the goat was about to be sacrificed, so the goat started speaking. Now when the goat started speaking, everyone was surprised. The goat said, what are you doing? You are sacrificing me, right? But I was what you're going to do is you're not going to get free from the bondage of birth and death. Rather, you're going to become a goat like me. Now, listening to this, everyone was surprised. And they said, then the Brahmin started asking him, can you please tell me first thing, how you're speaking? And can you tell me your story? So always remember, whatever karma we do, it will come back to us. That's why meat eating is banned. Not banned, it is not, it is said it is only in the mode of ignorance you eat meat. Because if you are killing someone, in one of your life, you will be the same animal that you have killed. It is just every action has a reaction. If you are killing a goat, you will become goat in another life. That is rest assured, right? So now this goat tells the story that he was also a very big Brahmin and he had all the Vedic knowledge. He was expert in Vedic knowledge. And what happened? So what happened that his wife was his son was actually ill, and his wife was a great devotee of Ma Durga, and she committed that if my son help my son to become fine, and I will actually sacrifice a goat. And this Brahmin, because he had all the knowledge, he actually helped her to get the sacrifice done. And then always remember, when you're cutting, the animal can't speak, but what is happening? There is a voice. All the pains that is happening to the animal, that is going to be inflicted on you. That has to happen. And then the Brahmin was cursed and it has become this goat. And he says, well, you are thinking that by doing this, you are going to become free from bondage and you are sacrificing me. But actually, see, this is my Durgati. I am now a goat. But the good part is, I remember my previous birth, because of which I am able to tell you this story. And if you are ready to hear, I will also tell you one more story. So he said, everyone there was like, they were spellbound. They were just like listening. It was a knowledge to them. He said, okay, but what more? He said that, there was in a place like called Kurukshetra, there was a great king called Chandra Sharma. And this great king, what he did, we all know that in Kurukshetra, what is famous? Solar eclipses, famous for Kurukshetra. So this great king, he wanted to do actually a dan of Kal Purush. Now, what is dan of Kal Purush? So those who are very very those so Kal Purush is basically they make a person, and and then they actually do the dan of that person. With by doing that dan in a particular Vedic process, all your sins, all your bad deeds, and if you have akal mrityu, that will actually be transferred by this dan to the pandit you are giving. It will get, so it is like, it's like who will take this dan, right? Kala, so that is called kala, that's called dan of Kala Purush. Now so the pandit, he had taken a pandit, and that pandit actually searched for the right Brahmin who has the capability to take this dan, right? So the king, after doing all the getting finally ready properly for the, he took a dip in the sarovar there, and he sat for the giving the dan. And then the Brahmin to whom he was supposed to give dan, he was constantly chanting and meditating, he was constantly chanting and doing the dhyan. And then the Purohit who was performing all this activity, who was supposed to give this Kal Purush to the Brahmin, he was like, he was also performing his activity where the Brahmin is constantly chanting, the Purohit is doing the dan karma from the king to the Brahmin. And then when the dan was finished, then the king saw that from the Kal Purush, what happened? There were two demoniac figures that came and tried to enter into the Brahmin. And when they were about to enter, then he also saw that some figure came from the Brahmin, and finally those two figures that was trying to enter him actually ran away. Now king was extremely surprised, where the Brahmin to whom he was supposed to give the dan continuously was in the meditation, chanting whatever he was chanting, he continued to do that. Now when all these things finished and then there was peace, then the king asked the Brahmin, what were you doing? He says that I was actually chanting the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And that enabled me, because since he was a great Brahmin and he had Govinda in his heart, because he was chanting this ninth chapter, that enabled him to tolerate the sins that was getting moving from the Kala Purush to the Brahmin. And the Vishnu Dut who was with him, actually, because the Kal Purush was entering Brahmin, and the Vishnu Dut, because when you are a great devotee, it is said that it is the yam cannot come to take you, it will always be the Vishnu Dut who will come to take you. So the Vishnu Dut actually came forward and fought with the Kal, the Kal was trying to enter into the thing, and they drove the Kal away. Looking at the Vishnu Dut, the Kal, the thing ran away. And this is how, and listening to that, the king got got knowledgeable. Then he sat with the Brahmin, learned the ninth chapter, and finally both of them chanted, and finally they got liberated. Yeah. So this is what is the glory of the. And then the goat who was actually telling the story about the Brahmin to the Brahmin, he also, so the Brahmin who was going to sacrifice the he goat, he first left the goat, he says no, and then he also learned the ninth chapter, and he also started chanting, and finally he also got liberated. With this, we will finish today's class. Hare Krishna. So we will, next time we'll start with 10th chapter. Let us chant the Maha Mantra and then we'll end the class, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining.